Okay, next several videos I'm for Saturdays. I'm gonna get back to like the character classes, that like in a sense the ideal party or ideal character uh, classes I did before. I'm gonna get back into finishing those, go through the rest of the classes now. Actually, and I'm going to start pulling from the updated version of the player's handbook. So this is the 2024 version. So in essence, you could say it's 5.5 or whatever. So I'm pretty much going to go right down the list and everything of all the classes that I didn't cover before, and kind of go quickly through them in a sense, like how you can go about playing each class. So now like the ones I've done before, like I went over like the barbarian, the cleric, the paladin, the ranger, the rogue, and the wizard. So I kind of like, hey, yeah, there's like kind of like the ideal class or whatever for like six players and everything. So now you might be someone like that doesn't necessarily want to play like one of those classes and everything. So this the idea of these videos is kind of like, oh, hey, here's let's take a shift and focusing on these other classes, like how we would go about playing with that. So we'll pretty much get into like everyone's pretty much favorite seduction master, whatever, the bard. There are tons of tropes and everything about the bard, pretty much seducing everything and anything under the sun. So that's pretty much the stereotype. Now, the bard really does shine as a kind of like a support character. So he kind of, in a sense, kind of would fit in as kind of like in that secondary role, kind of like not necessarily like the big bad brute of the barbarian wading into battle, just like punching everyone out or whatever, or like the wizard being able to conjure up like arcane magic and just like all of a sudden blast them like with the stereotypical. I didn't ask how big the room was. I said I cast fireball. Yeah, this your stereotypical tropes and like of course the cleric always like, oh hey, here's your heal and everything. So with the bard, the stereotypical bard is like I said, he pretty much he or she or whoever pretty much seduces anything and everything under the sun. Now, what's great about like the updated version of the player's handbook is that like, at level 3, you get in a sense what is called subclasses. So that's kind of where you start branching off, and you can start really like kind of defining your character that much better and everything, because there's several different paths that you can go to. So like you can get into like the different, in a sense, bardic colleges. There's dance, glamour, lore, and valor. So each one kind of has its own different flavor and everything. So kind of reading up on it real quick and everything, all depends on like what kind of bard do you want to play. Do you want like a, of course you have that bardic inspiration, so you can like in a sense inspire people, and that's like their base ability at level 1, where hey, I inspire the barbarian to do better. So like maybe they had like a bad roll on their attack roll, maybe like yeah, the AC to hit was 17 and they ended up rolling like they say like a 15, so they just missed whatever. The bard could use his bardic inspiration. Of course, at level 1, it starts at the D6 and it goes every level, like every certain level or so, like levels 5, 10, whatever. It'll go from the D6 up to D8 and kind of like progress that way as you level up. So like you start off at D6, so like that hey, I rolled a 15 and I had to roll a 17 to hit the AC. So, like, the bard gives his inspiration to the barbarian, rolls a d6, he rolls a 3. Like, oh, hey, look, now all of a sudden with that inspiration, I hit and everything. So, now kind of circling back to like the subclasses, that starts at level 3. So, now it. Again, it all depends on how, like, where you want to start, like, what level. So, like, group that I'm in, our first this in a sense our first go around with like we got together was doing like a one shot for can and the Candlekeep Mysteries uh, booklet adventure book, and so we did a one shot there, and our DM had us start off at level 3, because a lot of times that's when you start getting like all your interest and abilities and everything. So like I said, like with the subclasses with the bard, that's what you get at like level 3. So you can start at level 3, you can start at level 1, or you could in essence start at like run the Vecna Eve of Ruin campaign adventure book and start at level 10. So that all depends on where you want to start, but like with the starting at level 3 with the three subclass or the four subclasses, it kind of in a sense gives more flavor to the type of bard you're playing. So going over like the kind of the different colleges, like looking at them, the way I see it is like they kind of have like the different flavors, like with the dance. It does definitely seems more geared towards like a combat, but like kind of like you in a sense are more of like a dexterity based type of combat focused, and so instead of thinking of like the barbarian going in there wielding his axe, you're more of like the musketeer or the swashbuckler type of deal. So you're kind of dancing around, kind of like almost like the rogue type of deal uh, in combat. You more dexterity based versus strength based and everything. So that's like the college of dance. Now glamour, like you kind of like the college of glamour, you kind of go down the path of like magic, where like you kind of pull from like the realms of like the Feywild and stuff like that. So like I got the sense of like a kind of like a, more towards like the magic side of things with the glamour college, but kind of like the what came to mind for me was like a, oh hey, kind of like the warlock type of sense, like a drawn from the Feywild. You could quite possibly like figure, oh hey, maybe there's like a, and I will get to the warlock eventually, but maybe they work in tandem with the warlock and their patron and everything, pulling from the Feywild. So that's just one idea. So that's kind of like the overall sense I got with the College of Glamour is you're kind of more towards like the warlock type of spellcasting. Then of course there's the College of Lore where you're pretty much like the bookworm. So like still kind of like the magic flavor, like the College of Glamour, but it definitely seems like the more geared towards like the kind of like wizard type of character with in sense of magic. And then of course the last college, like the College of Valor, geared more towards the combat, and so like more geared towards like I would say like kind of like the fighter type of class. Still kind of like being the bard, like the primary abilities being charisma and dexterity. Still the same kind of concept of the swashbuckler, the musketeer, but he's more geared towards like maybe like helping the fighter or barbarian. So like overall, the whole concept of the bard is like being a supporting character. And as you can see with the four different colleges, you can kind of like fit your bard into like several different types of parties and everything. So, for instance, you might have like a magic heavy group and everything. So you might be say like using like the party of six, you might be say with like a wizard, a sorcerer, a cleric, a druid, and like a rogue. And so, like with the bard being a supporting character, you might gear him more towards like the dance or valor college, and maybe be more of like the fighter type and everything, since like your party's already consistent of more magic users. Now if you're on the other end and you have a lot more like the fighter type of classes, maybe like you have like the barbarian, a paladin, uh, a fighter, maybe like a cleric, and like a wizard, you might shift more towards like the magic type of like colleges, like the College of Glamour or College of Valor, so like you can back up the one or two like spellcasters and everything. So it all depends on like how you like look in like fit in that group and everything. So like think of like the bard is pretty much the stereotypical jack of all trades. So like the being high in charisma, like oh hey look I'll fit in right here. I'm like okay I go this way or I go that way, and kind of like the jack of all trades being able to fit into any situation, and like of course the stereotype like I've said before is that the bard is pretty much the one who seduces everything and anything under the sun, and because charisma is their primary ability, so like that's pretty much why that's the stereotype and everything. But you don't necessarily have to play the bard that way, but you can see how like with the different colleges, the subclasses, how you can kind of like mold that bard into like the kind of the fit in to whatever type of party you want. And of course like it doesn't necessarily have to be like the two examples of the parties I use. Like you could be like the uh, fighter, like the combat heavy group, and you could gear them towards more of like the dancer or valor. and vice versa. It all depends on how you want to play the bard himself. But like in my view, kind of like the bard is the ultimate support character, and they can kind of mold themselves to fit the party. And like and of course, like one of the memes that I've come across is like a little uh, crab on top, sitting on top of an alligator head, like the bard taunting the BBEG, while like the paladin, the crocodile, has the high AC. He's like think of Monty Python, like I fart in your general direction type of deal. So that the great that's I think the great thing about the bard is that you can like mold the character to fit into like any and every type of character party that you come across, and kind of like oh hey look, I'm going to go like this way type of deal, or yeah, I'm going to go that type and everything. So but at the heart of it, at least the way I see it, the bard is probably the ultimate support character that you could ever play. Now, I haven't played a bard myself yet. I tend to play more of like your fighters and barbarians and your monks and everything. I did play a cleric in that Candlekeep one shot that I mentioned with like my group and everything. So if and when we do circle back to playing something like D&D or something, I do kind of would like to start playing like other classes, like the bard here, for instance, or like maybe a wizard or something. To kind of be like, oh hey, look, do a video in the future, like update. I played this, and here's how I went about and everything. So, for this video, it's just kind of like all about like, hey, look, this is the bard, and here's some ideas on how you can go about playing the bard and fitting him in to whatever party that you're into.